waiting for the ring gear to come in. I have a busted motor mount right there. I got one off of a 26 Chrysler. They look an awful lot alike. So that's today's project, is get that motor mount out of there. See if we can get this replaced. The first thing I'm going to do is get this belly pan off of here. I need to support the front of the engine when I get the motor mount off, and I want to do it from either the front of the oil pan or the front damper. Haven't decided what I want to do until I get in here. These are going to probably be difficult to get off because these are not carriage bolts, and I got fuel lines running in there. Hopefully I can get these started and they're going to spin off without giving me any problems. Keeping my fingers crossed here. If I'm going to have any success at all in getting these off without holding the back side of that bolt, I need to clean up the surface rust off of these lightly. Especially down at the tip. For some reason, that's where these bolts like to rust off the bolt best. Clearly, this car has been stored inside, because these bolts are in absolute great shape. I'm going to give it a little douche here of the Creole. Get that off of there. Just keep my fingers crossed here. Yeah, the bolt's loose up above, so if I did this right, okay, now it's spinning, but if I have all the rust off of this, I should be able to load the side of the bolt. Let's see if I can get this. Load the side of the bolt here, and it's working. I got the bolt loaded up against the frame, so it is going to spin out. So I've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more of these to go. Keeping my fingers crossed. Well, that took about a half hour. Okay. Let's get this thing down and out of the way and see what we're in for. And some of the screws are side loaded on the pan, so you're going to have to use a screwdriver to get them unside loaded. Okay, there we go. The bolt for the shackle is holding it. Okay. Kind of bend it in a little bit to get it out of the way. Not much, just a little. At least springs catching on it. There we go. It be out of the way. Let's see what we got going on down here now. Well, now you can see what I'm dealing with. So apparently sometime in the past, this leaf spring mount broke, and they put some metal in there and they strapped a hose clamp to it. The safety wire is coming undone. If it's anything real crazy. And I'm assuming that this is stock, and it's in there to stop the motor from sliding right to left. I'm going to get my stand in here, and I'm going to support it from the front of the oil pan. Get some tension off of this and get that spring out of there. We've got the engine supported from the center of the drain plug. on the oil pan because both are pretty hefty. And that should be the best way. I can't get the jack in there because the cross member's in the way. So the first thing I'm going to do is get this side mount out of the way. Okay, there that goes across the floor. And then I need to find where I put my dikes. Just had them. These just the older I get. Yeah, they're on the toolbox. Don't even mess around with a pair of needle nose. Just use a pair of dikes. That's not even real safety wire. That's just mechanics wire. I really can't see that being a problem anyways. Can't imagine. These are coming off under normal operating conditions. That's what they used to do back then, so. Okay. Got those all off. Okay. Got that greasy part off. Jesus, everything's flying everywhere. Let's see if we can get some pressure off of this by lifting it up. Okay. There we go. That is off. Now, let's see if we can figure out what the problem was and why this was the way it was. Well, definitely found the problem. You look at the difference between the two. One of them's arched and the other one is flat straight across. It has lost its spring. Another issue we got going on is this was probably a rubber isolator with a hole in the center of this. That one in there. That is gone. This was put in with the zip tie. So what I'm going to do is get on McMaster-Carr, see if I can find an isolator. I can make it a little bigger, and then I'll just shave it down to size. So that's where we're at right now. I'm going to loosely put this in here while I figure out where I'm going to order that rubber from. I've got rivets, so I'll just re-rivet it in myself. Okay. I have found nothing on the internet about these motor mounts, but I think I know what's going on. These older cars, especially like our Nash, and the frames are pretty weak and they move around a bit. And I think what they did back then is the back of the motor bolts directly to the frame, and then the front is supported by either a spring or a swivel. Our Nash has a post that you shim to where it allows the engine to flex, and there's a grease fitting on it. What Maxwell's done apparently is the engine sits right on top of the spring, and it goes to some pads on the frame. What I found on this is somebody had taken a block here, some rubber here, and this bracket, and hose clamped it all together. I think what this does is you have torsionals when your engine's running. And when you floor it, it's going to want to lift. I think what this does is two things. It stops the lift, and it'll help with any sideways motion that the engine might have. So, some brass rivets in here. I'm gonna here. This is what I think this looked like. I think that block was inside of this. And I think that slid through the block. So what I've done is I've actually found some rivets, 1929, that are exact to these rivets. These are brass. Rivets taken care of. I found a polymer rubber. They use these in conveyor belts. What I'm going to do is, I've never jigged up or tried to machine any of this, so I'm going to do some experimenting with end mill to see if I can get that slot in there. If the end mill doesn't work, I think it's going to be some very, very hot knives. So let's get moving forward on this. The first thing I need to do is this bracket goes in here, and you can see that it's offset to accommodate the spring being lifted up off of the frame. I'm going to come straight out from it. I've got a measurement 0.866, that's just under 7/8. By the time I put the rivets in the flares from the back of the rivet get involved, that'll probably be exactly 7/8. So that's the gap of the hole that I need, or the size of the hole I need, and I'm just going to make it the width of the spring. I'm going to fit this bracket in here first to make sure that it is centered. I make sure that hole is supposed to be centered in here. I am trying to make something from nothing, and I'm guessing at how it was done just based on 50 years of doing this. First thing I got to do is cut this to size. It's the wrong blade. Now, I more than likely have the wrong speed programmed into this, but I'm going to give it a try because I hate changing blades. Oh no, water, man. This is working. Well, that was easier than I thought. I'm just going to assume that this is center. I decided to go with a 3/4 end mill, and then I could trim later. Also, this is squeezing in, so it's going to want to take off more when I relax it. I put a piece of board in there that's smaller than 3/4, and also it'll allow me to plunge into it. So let's see if I got enough clamp load on this thing and how it goes. And like I said, I'm assuming that they just made this a square block. It'd be the easiest thing to do back in the day. Getting some melting going on. I might have to rethink this. This might be a thing made with a drill bit. I'm bringing it out every now and then to get the waste material out of there. I just don't want it to bugger up and melt into a blob. Kind of looks cool. Okay, I be through. Oh, I don't want this to, it's going to go all in the end mill. Okay, there's that part of it. Let's square it up. Okay, this is perfect. This size right here is perfect, but then it's getting tight here. So I'm going to have to put that back in the end mill, and I'll move it either way till I get the 7/8 that I need there. I like my side gap, so it's just a process. Okay, what I got going on here is I just got a piece of scrap metal and I cut it down to size. I need to square up this hole. First thing we need to do is get this hot. The hotter, the better. Well, it's turning yellow. The zinc's burning off. I am not going to be taking a deep breath right now. Okay, let's just plunge this right in here. Woo! It's wanting to wander, so I'm going to come back from both sides because I don't want it to wander right out of it. Okay, through on that end. Okay, I decided to go back and do this again. What I learned is I had a bevel to one side, and as it was going in, it was forcing the blade one direction or other. It wasn't going in parallel. So I cut a point on the end, and instead of putting this in the end mill and getting a circle, what that was causing this to do was twist as it was going in. I'm getting a better result with just heating up the tip of this and plunging it in from either side. I'm just getting the tip hot. I'm not getting the whole thing hot. And you can kind of feel it. There we go. You got to pull it back out before it cools down, or you're going to have a big lollipop of rubber here. I'm thinking it's getting a little hot, huh? Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to like this result better. It looks a little more professional. I couldn't buy 1.5 inches of block. I had to buy 6 inches of it, so I have material to hone my skills. Okay. Almost. Just got that one little nub to go. But you can see I'm getting a better result. Getting some tighter tolerances. I'm going to go with this one right here. Okay, I'm a lot happier with this one. Time to put the rivet in. I put a bevel on this end just because of the way it's bent. I got it roughed, centered in there, and I just got to drill a couple holes through here. I want to kick that up in there. There we go. That would be better. Okay. It hasn't come through all. Oh, it's just starting to come through. So that's what's going to take place there. Let me get that. I might have to drill a receiving pocket on that other side. I'll take a. I know what I'll do. I'll just collapse the rubber around it like this. A pair of needle nose. Here, I'll pull that back right there. There we go. I'll just pull it over and bend that tab. The way these things work. Just the tabs flare out. So that's what I got to do. Well, there we go. Be riveted in. I got a nice tight from side to side. No up to down movement. I think this is the way this was designed. I have a smaller gap over here just because this is designed like leaf springs. I don't think it really matters because we're up on the high or the thicker part of the leaf spring. So let's put this in the car and see how this works now. I want to show you something. For 100 years of mechanics working on this, things all the time don't get put back together the way they should. This was the washer up top, and I went and looked at it, and I thought something looked weird, and it is weird. They didn't have a washer that had the right ID, so they put a lock washer in the center, but what that did is that allows the head of the bolt to push right through the washer. So you can actually see where the head of the bolt was pushing the lock washer out. So this was moving around. I'm going to get the right washer and put it in there. And, you know, that may have had something to do with the failure. With it moving around like that. I could be reaching, but put the proper washer on it. Okay, what I'm doing now is I've slid this mount on as far as I can. This screw right here has to go in that hole. So that's the first thing we got to do is get the bracket in the channel, bend that up. It's got to come over just a little bit. Of course, my hammer is not where it should be. Use a soft hammer to do this. I think that's looking close. There, I'm in. So now that I've got that into the engine, I've got to line up the motor mount, which is going to take some finagling. I can see that already. That might not be too bad. Let me go get a center punch and align it that way. Okay, now use the center punch, which is on a taper. It'll help you align the bolt to get it through. Bolt's leaning back right now. The engine is on an angle, so if I lower the engine, that should bring this mount backwards. And it looks like it did. And where'd I put my hammer again? I don't know why I put this stuff far away from me. Okay. Now, what has happened is that's popped out a little bit, but it's still right there. So I've got to do some finagling to get that back in. It shouldn't be a big deal. Get the dullest chisel you have. And then you can work the spring where it needs to go. I lifted the engine up again. Set it down a little so that when I do get lined up with that hole, it's going to want to just fall right in. Because right now the spring is wanting to work its way back. If I can get some engine load on it. Almost. Okay. I just got to get a pry bar and get that tapped in, but that's going to do it. I got some touch-up paint to do. Not a big deal. I just spray it in the cap of the can and hit it with a brush. I've started by getting two of the bolts in a cross pattern because the spring was twisted. So I got two of them started, maybe a ½ inch of threads in. Now I can try to get these springs over where they need to be, or I can get the other bolts in. I don't have a good place to pry on this. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's not still perfect. Okay, now I should be able to get that bolt in. And hopefully it moved it on the other side for me too. And it's a little tight, so I've got to bring it back that way. And I think that'll do it. I got a couple threads in it right now. Man, I can't hold on to anything. The one that's not threaded in all the way is going to go in first. Okay, there, that's good. See, now you can see how these 4 bolts are going to hold that spring where it needs to be perpendicular to the engine so it doesn't come off of the mount, off of the pad mount. And then you get a good idea how that's going to, that mount that I just made up will stop the engine from lifting. Like I said, I don't have any photos of how this is supposed to be, but if I was designing something like this, that's the way I'd be doing it. Okay, now I'm going to snug these up and get these holes into in alignment so that I can safety wire them. Also going to get that motor mount lined up a little bit better and get the nut in that. Gotta love safety wire. It's not really needed today, but this is a classic car and it's the way they did it back then. So I'm just going to do it the way they did it. There kind of is a technique to this. You want to put it into where if the bolt is going to loosen up, it will pull and tighten the other bolt that it's attached to. Okay, this takes a while. There we go, safety wires in. I just got to do some touch up. The problem with getting crazy with touch up is the car's patinaed, and I don't want to make it look like somebody was in here and freshened anything up. So I'll just paint it and blend it in the best I can so that it has the same aesthetic as the rest of the car. Actually, that motor mount turned out pretty well. It turned out really well. Happy with it. So what I got going on now is I'm doing what I do. These are the nuts or bolts for the belly pan. And I'm going to run them through my die to clean up all the rust so that I can finger tighten the nuts on. And another thing I'm doing, since they are captive in there, I'm going to run rubber bands across. So when I do go put the belly pan in, I can get it finger tight hanging in there. Come in there and snip that rubber band and it'll shoot right out and I can snug it up. And that'll save me a whole bunch of time because you can see, for me to get into the top with this belly pan on, it's a 2-person job, and right now there's only one of me. Okay, belly pan did exactly what I thought it would do. It went right on in place. I want to show you something. These old cars, these people had pride in their work. It only takes a second to line up all those nuts in the same location, pointing the same direction. Most judges won't catch that. The ones that do will appreciate it. The ones that don't catch it know they're looking at something nice, but they don't know what they're looking at. I'm just going to hit these with a little WD-40. If I put paint on it, the next guy that's got to pull it off is going to be living a nightmare. Also, these old springs, they've been meant to be lubed. You can see a little bit of surface rust on them. I just hit them with some WD-40 and let it soak in there overnight, and then come back with the rag and then wipe it off in the morning. And that'll take care of that little dusty coat that you see on there, or at least most of it. So let's go up above and see how that motor mounts. Oh, there it is. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to look like. Any of you guys that's got Maxwell's, my email address is on the YouTube page. Send me what this is supposed to look like. I'm pretty sure I got it. The ring gear came in. I'm also doing a flywheel on this. I got to machine this down. It barely fits in the lathe. I got some new, wrong part. I got some new carbide cutters here. Hopefully this will help in it. When I bought the lathe, I didn't have any money, so I didn't have money for good tooling, so hopefully this will do the trick. I'm not looking forward to trying to take teeth off of this. This is a parent metal flywheel, which means there's no ring gear. That'll be tomorrow's project. But as for now, I've been out here 8 hours. I'm calling it a day.